Recorded live on the North Coast, Scotty does a show with guest John Quintana. Tonight, the latest on art showings, reactions to the 2024 presidential election, and a round of rapid fire, today's top 5, and more. And now, what you get when you order Joe Rogan on Wish.com, Scott Marion.
All right, everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the show. Again, I want to give a very, very quick shout out to Chris Hunter. Thank you for coming on, dude. Such a great guy, super inspiring, and somebody I was really trying for a long time to get back on the show. I couldn't think of a better guy to be able to relaunch what I'm doing here. And again, it was a few years in between when I was really testing the waters with this in order and to get things going, and to have him come back on and share his story and how he feels about certain things. Just, again, a super straightforward, honest guy, super passionate, love what he's doing, love you, brother, and really appreciate all the feedback and just coming around and really, it's inspiring. So again, big shout out for you, Chris. Really appreciate you coming on. And again, through him, I was able to meet a few more people through social media, a few more kick-ass bands. So I guess I'm going to be out and about. So again, thanks, Chris. I really appreciate it. A couple updates real quick. I did have I had 3 pieces showing at the Elyria Arts Council. Those pieces are not there anymore, but now I have 9 pieces there that I just dropped off yesterday. They're going to be, they're all my 11 by 14 of my famous line of all of the pop culture, which I'll be putting all the pictures up here so you guys can see. These pieces are ones that I've had for a while. These are all black and white. Most of these are graphite and ink. There's all going to be somebody there that you know. These are pieces that have sold anywhere from $100 up to $300 a piece. These are all on sale for $75 a piece, or if you buy 2 or more, you get them for $60. At the Elyria Arts Council right now, again, we have 9 pieces downtown. These are all original pencil pieces. These aren't prints. If you're really wanting to have one of my original pieces, go ahead and check them out. And some of the ones are going to be there, like Nirvana, Madonna, Freddie Mercury, Scott Weiland, Guns N' Roses, and a few other ones too. So you go down there and check them out. They're a great organization. They're really trying to do something cool downtown in Elyria there. And again, I have 9 pieces. They're all original, and there's probably gonna be a lot of other cool stuff for you to go check out there too. So, along with the Marion Creations update at the Wellington Arts, I want to give a shout out to having, let's see, it was the Wizardry and Warfare. I had a few pieces showing there, and I'm going to be getting those back here this week. Having a few pieces showing downtown was pretty fun in my hometown. I had some people going around during their gallery walks, taking some pictures and sending them to me. That was always kind of fun, and hopefully I'll be able to show some pieces there, although I'd still have the picture of the town hall. 44090 is actually showing in the town hall right now, which I have an interesting story about that. Speaking of which, I've been flirting with the idea of doing a mural or a series of pieces over at the Avon Lake High School. I was meeting up with Coach John Sedlick and, of course, Scott Sedlick, who's the head coach there. Scott knows what, obviously I wrestled with Scott at Wellington, and John was our head coach there, and being able to paint the Jason Hartman Memorial, not once but twice. Again, I wish I never had to do it, but being able to do it twice in my high school was quite an honor. So Scott reached out to me about doing something in his room. We'll see if it works out. I've got some mock-ups for him, and we'll see if the program goes ahead and okays it. It'll be fun. It'll be exciting, and most importantly, I want to be able to make sure that I give him a room that's going to be different. It's going to stand out, and it's just going to look, quite frankly, just badass more than any other room. And What I will tell you is what I told Scott. If his program wasn't doing well, if he wasn't working hard, if he wasn't getting the results that he was getting, then no, I wouldn't be interested in this. But I knew from the beginning when he took it over. Matter of fact, I sat down and did a special with him on the Ohio Wrestling Insider video YouTube channel. I'm sure you check that out if you can. I knew what he was going to do because of his work ethic, and the work ethic came from his dad. So we'll see how things go with that. Also, on the same note, I have a couple ideas. So my friends out there in Salt Lake, get ready. We're going to be possibly getting something together here soon for a recon visit to be able to check out some galleries and things there. And, of course, down in the islands, I just got my passport renewed, so I can't wait to get back down the islands and check things out there to possibly showing some work and maybe even teaching some people how to beat each other up. That's always fun for me, too. And last but not least, as far as the art goes, I did mention when I had the show with Chris that I am looking to rebuild my website, so I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there. If there's anybody out there who's looking, who's interested about building a website and wants to work together, I had a couple great guys that were helping me out with that before, but unfortunately we're a few thousand miles away. It makes things a little bit difficult. But there's some people in the area here that are looking to do something cool, something fun, something creative. I'm looking to partner up with somebody to not only to have some fun and get some art out there, but also make a couple bucks too. I feel that the work that I've done and the work that I'm going to continue to do and some of the artists I have around me and even more I'm going to be gathering, we're going to be doing some cool stuff, and they're going to make some good gifts for people. And I feel that not having something that's active, that's going right now, that's having some original pieces and some prints being available, I'm costing myself thousands of dollars every month. So if somebody's out there that's wanting to collaborate on something cool and getting I mean, throughout my entire life, I've always had when it comes down to it, I've always had my artwork. And if there's somebody out there that's passionate about building websites, let's do something really cool and really different and really fun. And I don't know if you guys can hear the train in the background, but that's always pretty sweet too. The train is rolling. That's right. That's what you're hearing. And let's get together. So if you're out there, reach out to me via Facebook, of course, here on YouTube, and see what we can do. So when it comes to, last but not least, I got a couple pieces of news that I want to talk about, that I get asked about a lot. In the world of combat sports and mixed martial arts, which of course is very passionate for me, I'm still active in it, not as a competitor, but still teaching and training and working with a few people. We'll see how it goes from there. I always get asked about this gentleman all the time, which is Conor McGregor. In the world of not only mixed martial arts, but in the world of pop culture, Conor McGregor has eclipsed the sport. And I've had a lot of people that have reached out to me and asked me, to comment on his recent situation. Conor McGregor, I don't want to get into the details here on YouTube because it gets to be a little grotesque. However, he's just been found guilty of doing some bad things. And the thing, whether or not he committed a crime, I wasn't there. I don't know. However, what I will share with you is this person that lodged the complaint. That complaint happened in December of 2018. Conor's son was born in January 2019. So, as great as a performer as he is, as great as he is at selling pay-per-views and stuff, whether or not he committed a crime, he did what he did when, quote, the love of his life is 8.5 months pregnant. So, my take on that is, it hasn't changed. If somebody, if Conor McGregor called me right now and wanted me to coach him, of course I would. Of course I would. The payday would be the best I've ever had. The notoriety would be the best I'd ever had. And if that guy would listen to me, or quite frankly anybody, I think he would get some results. But I wouldn't want to live next door to that guy. So that's my take on the Conor McGregor situation is, you can say what you want about whether or not he committed a crime, whether he did or whether he did that. Now, again, you can check it out. There's other videos out there that go through the specifics. Where I get at is where the, quote, love of his life was at when he did what he did. And when he got on the stand and admitted to doing what he did. So that's a bad guy. And unfortunately, in a sport of cage fighting where you have to convince people that you're not a dirty, rotten cage fighter, that's when the type of behavior that you have. So, and enough on that. And speaking of combat sports, this is my first recording since the 2024 election. How you guys doing out there? How you feeling? How you relax? I'm willing to bet that about half the people I know are pissed off, and half the people I know are ready to high five. And again, like I said when I showed with Chris, I don't think that's an accident. My biggest takeaway from the entire 2024 election is the legacy media is done. I think they're done. When you've got these networks that I grew up on, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, ABC, NBC, maybe not Fox, but ABC, NBC, CBS, they all said the same thing. And they were all wrong. And I could say that about the election. I could say that about COVID. I could say that about lockdowns. I could say that about the border. I could say that about masks. I could say that about the vaccinations. I could say that about a lot of things that the mainstream media was wrong on. And the cool thing is, in a space like this, or a space like a space like X, where people can go on and say what they want to say, you can talk about misinformation, you can talk about this, you can talk about that. The bottom line is, the bullshit's going to be found out. And the truth is going to come out. And you can label people Nazis, and you can label people as misinformed and conspiracy theorists. You can label people all you want. You can sit there and you point fingers all you want. The people I listen to are the people that have the good batting average. And the people that have a good batting average, they look at 1 + 1 = 2, not anything else. And you can sit there and you can talk all day long into a camera and a microphone about how somebody is something. And then with your eyes and your ears and your common sense, you can realize that that's not true. The people aren't buying it anymore. And I think for the people, that's a good thing. And for the people that sit in front of a camera and a microphone and, quite frankly, do as you're fucking told. You're going to do as you're told? Then you deserve what you get. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I didn't vote for Donald Trump. I didn't. I also didn't vote for Kamala Harris. I didn't. But I understand why people did and why they didn't. I completely get it. So when it comes down to this election, people have asked for the bull to be back in the China shop. Now, you can say what you want about that, but my takeaway is, if the China shop is on fire in a dumpster in the middle of a hurricane, maybe we need a bull in there. I don't know. But again, to be completely clear, like I said when I was on the show here with Chris last time, I don't give a damn who you vote for, who you didn't vote for. I don't care what color you dye your hair. I don't care how you decorate your body. I don't care who you lay down with at night. I don't care what you put into your body. I care about how you behave. And if you behave like a shithead, then I know who you are. And this notion of I'm going to combat hate with more hate, and the notion of immediately when you're in the middle of a popularity contest to immediately take half of the people that are going to vote for you and say, you guys suck, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Never did. And the last thing is, look, my entire life, I absolutely lean towards a certain Democratic or certain party, which was the Democratic Party. I certainly leaned toward that way. It made sense. I wanted people to be taken care of course. I wanted free speech. I wanted peace. But now those things don't seem to be a part of that party anymore, or at least not on the forefront. So you can count me as one of those people that's disenfranchised. I'm confused, angry, maybe even pissed off. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to sit there and throw a rock at somebody. I don't give a damn. You throw a rock at me, you got a problem. We'll figure that out. You show up at my front door with a problem, we can figure it out. Great news. I know how to fight. But the idea of claiming to be one thing and then behaving a certain way, again, people are seeing through it. And if you talk about being acceptance and being joyful and being full of love and then turning around and saying somebody that thinks a different way, well, fuck you, then at best, you're disingenuous. And I'll tell you right now, I will tell you right now, that if I every single day got onto this camera and talked about my upstairs neighbor and talked about him as a this or this or this, and was serious about it, making serious allegations, and then the next day you saw a picture of him sitting next to me with a smile on her face, what does that make me? So, for everybody out there that's excited, great. Congratulations, you guys won. For everybody that out there that's pissed off, my feedback, if you're open to it, would be a little more introspective and a little less pointing fingers and calling people names. That would just be my feedback on that. But in the end, I hope that the bull in the china shop is the right move. I hope that the global problems that we're having seem to go away. Because in the end, the one thing that I measure things on that a lot of people seem to forget about, especially in the social media space, is right now, where's the doomsday clock? What's the doomsday clock? Look it up. If you don't know what it is, it's not just a little bit piece from one of my favorite graphic novels, one of the greatest of all time, Watchmen, which that is true. The doomsday clock, there are people out there that are way smarter than me, and I'm pretty smart. There are people out there that are way smarter than me. They figure out how much time we have before nuclear annihilation. And right now, the doomsday clock is 90 seconds to midnight, which is the closest to midnight it's ever been. And this has been implemented since the 60s. Statistics don't tell the entire story, but they also don't lie. So if we're going to be that close to something like that, which the reason why we don't talk about it very much is because it's the one big thing that terrifies the fuck out of all of us, as it should. I know how to fight. What am I going to do against a nuclear bomb? What? Nothing. So we don't talk about it. So if the bull in the china shop is either going to get it to zero, which I don't think so, or is going to get us away from that midnight, then I'm game for it. So when it comes to that election, again, congratulations for those of you out there that are upset. Let's do what we can to make sure that none of us end up as ash, and let's move some. You may not think so, and this goes for both sides. I hate to say both sides, but this goes to both sides. Let's remove the petty bullshit. There's bigger things at stake here. I don't have kids. I don't have grandkids. I don't think I ever will. But for those who do, I think that you guys want to have them have a little bit of a future. So, when it comes to Donald Trump, that's going to bring me to my really where I want to get at for here tonight. Donald Trump. Here's what the thing. You can say what you want about Donald Trump. One thing that Donald Trump and I have in common is I'm willing to bet that if you round up 100 people that knew me growing up, you're going to have 50 people that are going to tell you that I'm amazing, and 50 people tell you that I'm a piece of shit. That's okay. I don't mind that because I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And a lot of times the people that say that I'm a piece of shit, they say that not because they really feel that, because they little shame. In my opinion, the most powerful human emotion that there is shame. Because when somebody's doing something, not that you can't do, but something that you won't do, that's going to bring out the real person in you. When I see Jordan or LeBron go from the foul line, I don't feel shame because my body can't do that. But when I see a 60-year-old man with an 8-pack, I got some work to do. So if there's people out there going to talk shit about what I do, that's fine. Say whatever you want about me. Step out into my hallway over here and take a look at the piece I'm working on right now called synesthesia. And tell me that that sucks. And I'll call you a liar. I know I have that. Donald Trump, for whatever you say about him and his personality, is he rude? Absolutely. Is he a bully? Yeah. Is he brass? Yeah. Is he an asshole? Sure. Does he get results? That's the thing that pisses people off more than anything. Same thing about me. You can say what you want about me, and a lot of that is true. I'm a pain in the ass. I know it. I know it. I'm very, very opinionated. I'm very driven on things I want to do. But get out of my way or hop on the train, like we heard earlier, one or the other. But the bottom line is, you can say what you want about me, take a look in the hallway at my Peace Dragon, and tell me that it sucks. Do it. You can't. Or you're being disingenuous. So, my guest tonight is somebody that reminds me of that more than anything. Growing up in our little town in Ohio, here in Wellington, here in Ohio, there were people that had reputations for having an attitude, being full of themselves, being cocky, being the bull in the china shop, being somebody that, wow, they don't think that their shit stinks. Yeah, I know what that's like. But when you put the results out there, it's very simple. Number one, I've said this on the show here a couple of times, and it completely exemplifies this person right here. Number one, can you keep up with me? If the answer is no, then shut your mouth. Can you keep up with me? Yes. Oh, okay. Number two, can you do and accomplish what I do and what I've done? If the answer is no, time to shut the mouth again. Here's the great news. If the answer is yes on both of those things, great, have a seat. We could probably do something amazing. But when you walk around with, it's something that gets thrown out very casually all the time is the word swagger, especially in my guest's chosen sport. Swagger is something that you have because of what you've earned and what you've done. You can hang a participation trophy on the wall all day long. It doesn't mean a damn thing until you've gone out there and you've earned it. And my guest here tonight, he was a couple years ahead of me in school, and was the guy that I would say probably before me. There may be a couple of guys in the school too, but if anybody would say that guy is a fill in the blank, you're going to either get hero or the opposite. But play ball with him. See what that's like. because I can say that in the little bit that I played ball with him, not only did we become conference co-champs, we found ourselves going to the playoffs when we sure as hell should not have. Because in the greatest football game I ever played in, which was, I only played a couple plays in it, was when we were at home and we were 6-3, we had to take on the unbeaten 9-0 Firelands Falcons, and we beat them 7-0 at home. And it took them out of the playoffs and launched us into the playoffs. And there was basically like 3 or 4 guys on the team that were, I mean, I'm a little guy. These guys were bigger, they were stronger, they were faster, they were older than me. But more than just going out there and exemplifying how to play on the field, but my guest, he kept going. I know a lot of athletes that, junior high, high school, sometimes even junior high, you always wonder, like, what if? What would happen? And you can get the reputation for having an attitude all you want, but if you're going to put your name out there, and you're not only going to go out there in high school, but you're going to go to the next level. And then when you go to the next level, you don't just go. You don't just play. You don't just win 1. You win 2 national championships. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to have somebody who might have as much of an attitude as me. We'll see. Although he is sitting in my studio on the show, the one, the only, the great John Quintana.
Thanks, Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were going through that introduction. I wasn't sure where you were going with that, but it's kind of funny as I think back to those days.
Try to get a little closer. Okay, there you go.
As I go back to those days and I think about what was going through my mind in that time, I was actually a scared little kid that had big dreams, and so a lot of times when you're don't really know who you are and what you're doing, all I knew is I wanted to play football at the highest level and was willing to work for it, but was very insecure about who I was, and sometimes you cover that up with a big ego. And there was people that got to know me, Brownie, Jason was somebody who got to know me really well, and Troy Brewer, and they were my 2 closest friends because I think they saw through the BS that I put out there and got to know the real me. And those are 2 guys that I really appreciate so much, that were always encouraging, always helping me along, and just we're always there. We're fans, but pushed me. So
it's refreshing to hear you say about being insecure. We all were. A lot of that comes from most of that comes from home, as far as what we're secure in what we can do and how we can perform in things. But we all overcompensate, especially at that age. 15 through 18, we're basically a special needs kid at that point. Our brain isn't even developed yet, even though our bodies are. Or obviously, some big. When I was in 8th grade, I was a lineman. How about that?
Right.
But I was 130 pounds on the wrestling team, and then my senior year was 130 pounds. So, although I cut a lot of weight, it's some people's bodies just are different. But it is refreshing to hear you say that, because I was the same way. I overcompensated with insecurities and damage and things like that by just acting out and doing some crazy things. But in a way, that insecurity though, as you said, you wanted to play on the highest level. That drove you. That had to drive you, because look, in a school like Wellington, which it's not Ignatius, it's not St. Ed's, it's not a school that's known for pumping people out to the Division I college level or around there. If you're going to walk around and you're going to be serious on the field and you're going to give people shit for being out of line or being off, but you were a guy who was vocal about, hey, this is how we do it, this is not how we do it, and that rubbed some people the wrong way. But the reason why you did that is because you were focused on where you wanted to go. Again, all it did was take you to 2 national championships. And the and I tell you what, I sat. It was interesting because when we talked about having you coming on the show here, I got to sit back and I rewatched the entire championship game from '93, and the interesting story of that, like, as you were sharing with me, is the fact that you guys got up to a real quick lead in that, but it was the rubber match because you were there and you got to win. Was that your freshman year?
So our freshman year, we were the only team that went undefeated, untied in Division I football. We had a perfect 11-0 season,
Right.
Went into the playoffs, and we lost the first round playoff game at home against Central Florida. And that really stung. You know, we had some big expectations after running the table like that, but it was sometimes, you need that.
And were you a redshirt freshman or a true freshman?
No, I was a true freshman.
What was that like going from, the little school in Wellington to Youngstown? And again, going from a team that we had success, but to go from, it's a backwoods type program that we had in Wellington to go to that. What was that like? What was the biggest difference?
I remember a story with a buddy of mine that's now passed away, but his name is Alfred Hill, and we're standing in front of our, at our home crowd, and I'm looking up in the stands, and there's 14,000 people, and the place is just packed out, and I'm just sitting here, I'm hyped. I'm like, man, isn't this great, Alfred? Well, Alfred went to Canton McKinley.
Oh, wow.
And he's just like, dude, I played in front of more people in high school, and he just deflated me like that, But it was so surreal to me to be there. But it was, it was the first game that most of the freshmen were dressed. They could dress. I don't know what they dressed at home then. It was like 65 or 70 people, and I was dressed, and we were blowing out Bloomsburg in our first college game, and I could see the coaches in the second half looking down at me. And I'm just like, what's going on, And finally, my position coach comes down to me, says, you want to play? And I said, well, that's what you brought me here for, right? It's like, heck yeah, I want to play.
Wow.
And they said, go on in. And then it was from that point on, I had made second team at inside linebacker. And then they had put me on all the special teams from that point on. And
yeah, because you played linebacker in high school.
Played
and fullback.
I played defensive end in Wellington.
That's right. Defensive end. That's right.
It was kind of like an outside linebacker, but we didn't drop.
Gotcha.
So it was always just run responsibility and pass rush. But to be able to get out there and just kind of play, and it was like, there were 6 of us freshmen that traveled and played, including one of my buddies that played for 14 years in the NFL.
6 out of how many freshmen went out for the team?
Oh, geez. I think we had probably 30 freshmen that started when we all got out there.
So 6 out of 30. I mean, at the time, I know you're so focused on, I just want to get in. You don't have time to sit back and reflect on that. But now that you look back on that, 6, you're one of the 20%. Think about that.
My thought process at the time was that I wanted to play linebacker, through the whole recruiting process. I remember when Gary Moeller from Michigan came to the high school. Mm-hmm. And they got me out of class, and I remember Lisa Warner was a huge Michigan fan, and she's bouncing off the walls. Oh my God, Michigan's here to see, and it's just like that's where I was. I thought I was going to play linebacker at Michigan, and then they quit calling about Christmas time. Youngstown State held on, and they talked to me, but also it turned out it was really interesting. I looking back at now 53 years old, looking back on the years about how God was moving pieces in my life. So as we were coming down the recruiting trail, I didn't have any offers. We were coming down, getting close to within a couple weeks of signing day. And Jim Tressel called me, and he said, hey, just kind of he had come to my house with the guy that was recruiting me. We had dinner at the house. My dad cooked for him, and had a great evening getting to know him and getting to know those guys. And he had called me kind of the week before. He said, look, he says, I got one guy in front of you. I don't think I'm going to get him. I think I'm going to lose him to Pittsburgh. So I don't have a scholarship for you yet. And he said, I'll call you in a week. And, one thing about Jim Tressel, if he says he's going to do something, he does it. And
you're not the first person I've heard say that.
Yeah. And so he called me a week later, and he said, I didn't get the guy. He went to Pittsburgh like I thought. I've got a scholarship. Would you like to play at Youngstown State? And I said, absolutely. I jumped on it. It was the only scholarship offer I ever got, and it happened to be for him.
So knowing that and getting into that, I mean, like I said, I mean, going into playing football for Wellington, we played in front of 800 people, 1,000 people maybe, I don't know, back in the day. So yeah, there are some high schools in the area. I went to a Midland Lee football game in Midland, Texas in 1999 when they were nationally ranked. And I kid you not, there were 30,000 people there.
No doubt.
It was Midland and all of Odessa. Like the joke was, when that's where the Friday Night Lights movie and series was based out of. They would joke about it. On Friday night, if you're out of town, turn the lights off. You're the last one out of town because we're going to watch a football game. It's practically a religion there. It is phenomenal. So you didn't have that in high school. So to go from that to not only that big stage, playing in that first national championship game, when the first time you come out of that tunnel, are you numb or what's that feel like?
You know what? It's funny you say that because when we went, well, first of all, I mean, Texas, it's first, I mean, I remember when we would travel, we played games at Stephen F. Austin and Southwest Texas State, which is now Texas State, the Bobcats. And we traveled down there and we're in a hotel Friday night watching, we'd flip on and watch the high school sports. I'm seeing dudes at the high school level. I'm like, I don't want to mess with them at Youngstown State, So
wow.
Saw some incredible, just incredible play. I mean, Texas football is unreal. Not that Ohio's. Florida's incredible.
Yeah,
High school, Pennsylvania.
High school, Florida and Texas. I went to high school games in Florida, Texas, California, and Utah. And it's different in Texas and Florida. Of course, Ohio's on there and Pennsylvania too.
But at that time in my senior season was the '89 season, and coming through the '80, we had there was one or two Phalens that went to Michigan State, and Dan Gossman went to Toledo,
right.
and
yeah.
So we had some guys that had gone and played D1 football.
Was Dan the tight end as well?
He was.
That's what I thought. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And so that part wasn't right, but we had great support for high school football. I mean, it was kind of like the town shut down for high school ball. And
we did.
You said 800. I'm thinking, I was telling guys at school is 20. We had 2,500 people in the stands, and I think
I don't know.
That's if you're counting the kids playing in the out in the practice field too.
I mean, make no mistake. I want to be clear out there. The stands were packed. It wasn't like we had stands for 5,000 people and 800 people were there. It wasn't. I mean, we had stands for 1,000 people. Then you would have 1,200 people that would be there. That's true. So I mean, it's hard for me because thinking back, like even the Wellington gym, their capacity there is like 1,000 people. Which if you think about that, it's like okay, that's. So we probably were closer to 1,500 to 2,000 people that were maybe there. I don't know.
Either way.
Well, now they have the stands on the other side.
Right.
So
well, and what the fullbackers have done, and the alumni, and the people that are contributing to that it's such an amazing event and show that they put on Friday nights now. It's really.
I haven't been to a game, although they've hosted a couple playoff games there. So that's part of the reason. From what I understand. In Wellington, that was the big motivation for putting the stands over there because the field itself, they always kept very in good condition. The field itself was always one of the best fields we ever played on. At least you kept playing after I did.
Well, and we weren't allowed on it.
Well, yeah, exactly. We didn't practice on it.
We weren't allowed. It was
No, the track team didn't do anything on it really.
Right.
I mean, that's true. They kept it in good condition. That's true.
No doubt.
And it was. And they put the stands over on the other side, so they've had a couple playoff games there. So,
yeah.
Well, playing in the first championship game, and then losing the second one.
So yeah, you asked that question what it was like walking out of the tunnel
Yeah.
out there, and it was really interesting because they have a whole week of festivities. We get out there, on like a Tuesday or Wednesday, and we've got we're having major practice out there. We're still preparing for the game. They'd have banquets and stuff. And I just remember the first year we were there, we show up and we're just like looking around like where am I? What's going on? And Marshall comes in and they're all just their business. They're not straight ahead. They're just focused, and we're just happy to be there. We have no idea really what's going on, and. We know obviously the game's important. We got a lot on the line.
Were they favored over you?
Oh yeah,
I thought so. Yeah.
And so, well, and the whole thing about getting to that game. Now we came out, backing up in the season, we came out highly rated. We were like preseason ranked number 1 or 2 in the country, and we had somehow messed around and lost 3 games. And we show up at Georgia Southern. They were the defending national champions playing on their home field.
Wow.
And we have to beat that. If we lose one more game, we're done. I mean, we're not making the playoffs. If you could probably lose 3 and make the 16-team field at the time. And so,
but 4,
4, you're not gonna be talked about. Yeah. So we had to rally and beat them on their home field. And Tressel was always about just different motivating angles, just different things. And so the national championship game was on that field that year.
Wow.
And so the big motivational draw is like, guys, we got to go through this team. And when we do what we're supposed to do, and when we win, when we deserve the victory, we're going to take some Eagle Creek water back to Youngstown.
Nice.
We're going to mix it with Mahoning River water. And the whole focus for the rest of the year was making sure we got back to Statesboro to put that water back in Eagle Creek. And so,
wow.
And so we rattled off 7 straight, including beating Georgia Southern on their field, 7 straight wins, ran the table in the playoffs to be able to play in the national championship game. And that's, Marshall shows up. We didn't know anything about Marshall. It's as players, they were in a different conference.
Well, their story is a bit of a tragic one, obviously, but
right
there. But at the time, you weren't aware of who they were as far as the powerhouse that they were supposed to be,
or what they became, even with Randy Moss and all the guys afterwards.
No kidding. That's right. Yeah.
So, but here we are. We're just kind of happy-go-lucky. I mean, we're focused on getting the job done, and in the course, so we come out the game, and it's beautiful day down there in Georgia, and for December especially when we're practicing in snow up in Youngstown. But to go out there and to play that team, we were down 17-6 going into the fourth quarter.
That's right. Yeah.
And we rallied off 3 straight touchdowns, end up winning 25-17, and win our first national championship. Now that year, I had just moved to tight end.
But the transition from linebacker to tight end, from defense to offense, was that tough for you?
Oh my, yeah, it was. So
I know you played both ways in high school, but I mean,
I did. But when you play fullback, you're making a living taking a snap and going and slamming into somebody.
It's true.
Well,
that's where you big dudes can do the stuff that us little dudes can't do.
So
you put me in a strong safety, maybe, but that was the reason why I stopped playing football, is because you put me in a strong safety, I'm still might have to tackle some big bastard like you. And what am I going to do? You know what I mean? That's like Shaq says, that's when physics take over. And what am I going to do?
Well, you say that, but I was only 195 pounds in high school. It's
but I was 130. Come on, 60 pounds. That's half my weight. Come on,
right?
And you're bigger and you're older and like, look, I mean, I love football. I love everything about it, but that's why I got really 100% into combat sports, because if I go on the mat or the ring or the cage, you're going to be the same weight as me, son.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
right.
Okay, like Scott said, like he put it best when he said, we're the same size. Who gives a shit? Like, yeah, you know what? You're right. At that point, you're right. But in football, I might be blocking somebody smaller than me and then turn around and then somebody your size or bigger is going to put me into the first row. And
it's all relative who you're playing against, too.
True.
I mean, my junior year, we're playing Elyria West against Steve Tovar.
That's right.
And in our wishbone offense, me playing fullback, it was his assignment was to take me out of the offense. And it literally, Pat Mitchell calls, the play looked best in their alignment, every play toward him. And literally for 48 minutes, just getting
he was something else.
Oh, he was
too.
a man among men. I
Yeah,
mean,
he played,
6'4.5", 245, and
played
ran
for the Bengals.
He played. Yeah, he was an All-American Ohio State and played 6 or 7 years for the Bengals. Mm-hmm. But he was
back at Elyria West, which doesn't even exist anymore.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And but it was one thing, when you play against different people, like they might blow you up on a play, and you're like, you get up, you're like, okay, I got you, I'll get you the next one, and you do. Not Steve. not Steve Tovar. It was
No.
just literally running and just getting blasted and picking myself up. I think the back of my uniform was dirtier than the front of that game.
And
It
you
was
were the
crazy.
one that took the brunt of it then.
Yeah, I remember laying down at halftime, take three aspirin, laid back at halftime, and the only thing I remember was Coach Horvath saying, "All right, let's go." I don't remember adjustments. I don't remember anything. Just
Was
back
that
out
a
in the
home
second half.
game or was that away?
That was at Ely
Ely.
Stadium.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, it was insane.
Jesus.
So,
That's crazy.
but so after we beat Marshall that year, well, it turns out we go into a whole nother season. We're not even thinking anything about it. We got our rings and we're back after it. Just Tressa's got us focused again and dialed in, and we're getting ready to just doing what we do.
Did you talk about repeating, or was it just this person or this team and then this team and then this team? Because I see him as being pretty robotic with that.
We're always talking about the end goal. The end goal was always national championship.
Okay.
But it's also you got to take care of a week at a time.
Sure.
And staying focused
Well,
on
the fight
what you have
game's
to
the
do.
same thing. Of course, you want the belt, but I got to get through this guy first. So I get it. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And so we go back the second year now. We've got the same festivities. Marshall runs the table again. It's us, them. And this year they're hosting the game in Marshall at Huntington, West Virginia.
Games they did.
The last two games they
Yeah,
did.
that's right.
And so they're hosting the game down there. Now we show up for the banquet. They're not happy.
When you walk out into to play the team in the stadium for the national championship, it's their home stadium. What the hell? Like, it must, again, I always bring this back to the fight game. It'd be like if somebody from the last guy I fought from Venezuela, I fought in Curacao. If he fought me in Cleveland, and he walked out, it's got to be a whole different energy when you come out there. Is it, or do you not really notice it very much?
Well, I think it's how you prepare. And one thing that Tressel was a master at was having us mentally prepared to play. Yeah. We knew what we had to do. We always talked about road focus. You're going into a crazy environment, but it's still about taking care of business. It's still about you handling your job, and the quarterback making good decisions, and everybody doing their job.
The analogy always seems to fit with war. Like you're the gunner, you're the this, you're the this, you're the this. We all have one common goal, which we need to defeat this team, this army, if you will.
Well,
I mean, I don't want to sit there and insult anybody that's ever been to war and say it's the same. I don't want to do that. But what I'm saying is the mentality of the coach versus the general. Mm-hmm. It's got to be very similar.
Well, I mean that's one of the things that anybody that knows me knows I'm not a Ryan Day fan. I don't. Ohio State is not a training ground for head coaches, and if you haven't won at a level, at something and been the head coach successful somewhere else, I don't know how you get that job, but. He made a statement like that. I would never say that. The people because our lives aren't on the line.
Right.
We're not.
Again, I don't want to insult anybody.
We're not quote unquote defending anything other than the stadium, whatever that is. But I mean, that's a whole different level. But it is
as far as the pragmatic mentality of the chess match, if you will. I use the same thing. I always bring things back to fight. It's the same thing. The fight analogy too. Like, okay, if you have an attack that's working really good, I need to stop that. Mm-hmm. And I need to do my attack is going to be able to defeat. It's the same mentality of, okay, this flank versus this. And again, I don't want to sit there and I never served. I will never serve. Show up my front door, that's a little problem. But and I don't want to insult anybody who ever has. No, and again, hats off literally to all of you who have. But I feel like the strategist, that mentality of, for lack of a better term, the art of war. One of my favorite quotes in the art of war is attack complete emptiness with complete fullness, which basically means you zig, I'm going to zag.
Right.
So, and of course, the consequences are much more dire compared to winning a trophy, compared to living or dying. But the mentality, I think the brands are going to be very similar as far as being a head coach, where you have to understand the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Right.
So case in point, if I'm going to sacrifice my fullback against Steve Tovar and we're going to win the game, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, I was a casualty of war in that
Well,
game. But
that happens a lot in football.
But no, with in all seriousness, no, it's what goes into that. Even, and I can't relate to the individual sport of fighting, but it sounds like there's a strategy. Hey, you're taking on an opponent that has these strengths, has these weaknesses. And one of the things that Tress was so good about was we knew our opponents, I think, better than they knew themselves by the end of the day, because the coaches had everybody broken down into their strengths and weaknesses. We've seen them on film. We've worked on them all week. We had to, on Friday night, we took tests. We had an offensive test. We had there was a defensive test that the defense had to take, knowing, where you're talking about what numbers were where, what are their strengths and weaknesses, what do we like against those guys, to where we were dialed in, and even a special teams test that we would have to take all of these, get them back to our position coaches, and then if there was something that we didn't understand, they were addressing it either later that night or Saturday morning.
It wasn't just Tressel, it was the whole coaching staff was very focused on, and that's why you guys had the results that you had.
Very dialed in.
Because
Absolutely.
if he was at the head coach and wanted this, and the other coaches didn't care,
right,
then there would have been chaos.
Well, and that's why there's some guys that are extremely talented coaches. They can connect to their players as assistants or as a coordinator, but that coordinator and head coach are two majorly different skill sets. Just because you're a good coordinator doesn't mean you're going to be a good head coach, and we've seen that over and over again.
If you had to name the two most important qualities of a head coach, what would they be?
Getting the buy-in of the players.
Okay.
Getting the respect and the buy-in of the players. Tressel had a way of getting to. I remember my senior year. I was starting, and I had jumped off sides basically, but as a tight end, you can move a little bit, and so I flinched, but kind of kept moving, and then put my hand out. Well, Mark didn't see me moving, and I wasn't set for a second. Snaps the ball. He goes 39 yards for a touchdown. And, here's the official legal motion on the offense. And I hear my replacement, hey, Quint, and here comes Aaron Green out on the field. And I remember running off the field. And Tress had his arms crossed, and he's just looking at me.
Sweater vest?
He didn't wear a sweater vest at YSU. He had a polo with the YSU on the back.
That's right, yeah.
But Tress has his arms just crossed like this. And I'll never forget this. He goes, hey, Quint, what were you thinking? The ball was going the other way. And those words burnt through. He was a guy that he expected you to perform at a certain level, and you didn't want to disappoint him.
He sounds like a guy who doesn't mince words. He doesn't. He cuts it right to the point.
Right now, the offensive line coach was behind him, yelling and screaming, calling me everything but whatever.
Sure.
But it was that momentary lack of focus that cost us. And so that when you get back in the huddle, now you're listening. Okay, play. Snap count, processing everything, coming up to the line. What are they in? Where's my guy? Looking at, okay, who's going to, who everybody's going to block. You get down in your stance, and now you just wait, and you listen through the cadence. Or
what's the last thing you think of, like when you would get into your stance? For me, it was always snap count. I would do the, like you said, I would run, because when I was playing, again, I didn't play anywhere near the level you did. It would be like, okay, that's my guy, or this. Okay, before I get set, or whatever it was always, what was my snap count? Was the last thing I would always think of. What was it? The last thing you?
You're focused on the snap count, but you're also, are they shifting around, or do they reset?
Because you're at the level where there's so much more shit going on.
Oh yeah,
right? It's crazy.
They're adjusting. You're talking. You're audible. You're talking to your tackle next to you, and you're listening to the calls of the center and everybody else. You're processing all of this information. And then it gets quiet, and then the quarterback calls a snap count, but you've got to process through that whole thing.
So you win the first championship game, you lose the second championship game to Marshall.
Well, take
me through that.
So the second one, when we show up at Marshall, and when they were out for blood. I mean, we beat them. They're on their home field. They should win this game. And they got out on us 28-0.
Yeah, 2 games in a row they got out to a fast lead on you guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's midway through the third quarter. It's 28-0. Our fans left. I mean, there's literally, it's just us on the field, couple straggling parents, but like the students, they were gone.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, we went back to our strength and running the ball. And
you guys had a great run game. God, you guys were dominant.
We had 2,000-yard rushers.
Yeah,
and
first time ever for that school.
Yeah, and the guy at the time that had all the records, Tamron Smith, he could hit the hole.
He wasn't a big guy either. He was 200 pounds.
He wasn't. He was probably around 200, 210 pounds, but he could hit the hole in such a way, and he was just hard to tackle. He wasn't very fast. We joked about Tam. Truss would always run the playback and like, hey, Tam, what's going on here? And he's getting tackled from behind, but the guy scored more touchdowns, and he had all these records. He was an incredible player, and but anyways. In fact, it was the third touchdown we were coming back. He stood up at the goal line. I somehow ended up on the ground. I look up, I see him fighting to get in the end zone, and I just jump and I just come in and I just launch into the back of him. And I just drill him in the ribs, and he landed in the end zone. He looks up at me and goes, "Thanks, Quint." I was like, "Hey, dude, you scored.
Got the six.
Let's go." Yeah, we got the six. Hopefully your ribs are okay.
Come on now.
But then, and then we ended up tying the game.
That's right.
And it was such a surreal story for Marshall. Now, their regular kicker gets suspended during the week for violation of their team rules. His twin brother played on the soccer team.
And had never kicked in a game.
Never kicked in a football game. I mean, I don't know if he kicked in high school. I don't know what his history is, but as a soccer player.
We even had the one exchange student in high school who the soccer player did that.
Andreas? Tobias Sharp, yes.
I remember that kid. He was he was goofy, but he was nice.
Yeah.
And he was a decent kicker.
Yeah.
Decent.
He did a good job for us in high school for sure.
He did.
No, but this guy comes in and his one field goal attempt from 20-some yards to win the national championship with 9 seconds left, drills it, and
that's right.
He's a hero. So they win theirs. And as we're getting dressed and getting out of our stuff and getting on the bus, their fans are they're obviously excited, but they're celebrating, they're blowing their horns, one finger saluting us. You guys suck, and so the whole mantra for the whole senior year from that point. I mean, we just and Truss, even when we got on the bus, they said, soak it all in. Just soak it all in.
Smart. Yeah. Take it in. Smart.
And so the whole
That's a smart strategy. Yeah.
Before our senior year, we have down our rings, it says HOH, the Horns of Huntington. We had that everywhere because Huntington was going to host the national championship. It's a 3-year bid thing. So they were going to host it year 2. And he said, our whole goal is to come back here and we want to take them out on their home field our senior year. And so it just happened to be that the bracket's set up right. We did what we needed to do to get back. Marshall did what they needed to do to get back, and here we go, the rubber match. Now, in 92, when I was talking about the second game, when we had that banquet that that we participated in, they were all business. They were mad. They lost the one. They were mad. I mean, they're just focused again, and we're just like, hey, man, we're.
You guys are enjoying the time.
Yeah, we're just taking it all in, having a good time. These guys are all business, and it was so funny. Now going into '93, they won one, we won one, we both won one, and it was a whole different setting. It's like, hey, what's up? Yeah, we're talking to each other, we're interacting. It was really funny. So.
And again, in combat sports, whether you're wearing pads or you're wearing gloves, it's there's a respect there because we went out and hit each other in the face a few times. I mean, there's a kinship and there's a respect there that you don't get in other sports. I don't think that there are a lot of tennis players that end up buying drinks for each other when they stop playing against each other because you don't get to do that. Right. And if I don't like you and you don't like me and we're the same size, guess what? On Saturday afternoon, we can put on a headgear and we can spar, we can figure it out, or we can climb into a cage and figure it out. But when we do, and you do it in front of a crowd, and there's cameras and microphones and everything there, and everything's documented. If I got a problem with you and you knock me out, well then it's over.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's it. It's done. So if we've done that twice, and we're getting ready to do it a third time, yeah, I'm going to be way more relaxed when I see you in the room than the first 2 times that we did this because we've already done it. Right. Now make no mistake, bell to bell, I'm going to come at you like a ball of fury. as I should, and as you would, playing football. But I'm not shocked by that at all, because there's familiar faces there.
Right.
You know what you're going to do. You know how this guy hits. You know how this guy runs. You know what this guy's attitude's like. You know the type of shit this guy's going to say across the line. You know that.
Right.
You've seen him, and you each have a ring. So there is. I'm not surprised to hear that at all.
Right.
So you go in there, and that game was completely different, because you guys run off to a quick start, very quick start.
Right.
And never look back. So that experience when you were there, and because again I rewatched the game just again recently, and that where instead of having to claw your way back, when you're sitting on top of a lead and having to maintain, it's like they always say, the prevent defense. If there's one thing that pisses me off when I watch NFL, is I see the prevent defense, because I know at least 3 points are going on the board. At least 3 points are going to go on the board in the next minute. That's what's going to happen, because when you got 6 guys off the line, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get 30 yards on every play. So, when what is that like? What's the mentality of, because I've won matches and fights, and I've lost matches and fights, and there's been some that I've been way ahead the whole time. There's some that I've had to come back from behind, and I know what it's like on an individual basis, and I know what it's like on playing a little bit of football, but on that level, when you jump off to the lead, a good analogy that I'll use is when I was coaching at Elyria Catholic, and I had a kid who was a senior, and we were at the district tournament, and we were in the blood round, where if you win, you go to state. If you lose, season's over.
Right.
Which, if you're not even a high school wrestling fan, go watch the district tournament. Go watch the blood round. You will see agony and ecstasy at the same time. And this kid had been in this match. This was his 3rd time out of 4 years in his last match. And in the way that those consolation matches go, instead of it being a 2 minute, 2 minute, 2 minute match, it's 1 minute, 2 minute, 2 minute. And in the first period, in that 1 minute, he threw the kid, put him on his back. And I sat there and I'm like, we're up 5-0. Holy shit, we're going to win. The only way we should have lost that match is if he would have done something completely stupid. We ended up winning 9-3. But when you're up 5-0 and you're already a third of the way through this match, in a match where you can be penalized for stalling and not engaging and stuff, I'm like, he could literally almost back out of this match and win now. My feeling as a coach switched from complete anxiety to almost like protection. Meaning, okay, whatever you do, don't do something dumb.
Right.
Whatever you do, don't do that. And this is when, as a wrestling coach or as a combat one-on-one coach, I've had athletes out there in a position like that, and then they do something stupid. If I have a guy or a gal or a wrestler who's really good at hitting leg attacks, and I'm winning, and all of a sudden they have a lead and they decide they're going to do a throw, and next thing you know, they get put on their back and get pinned, that type of stuff drives me crazy as a coach. And again, I've been in those positions as an athlete. So as a player, what was the mentality of going from, holy shit, we got to scratch and fight and claw to get back into this, to all of a sudden you guys were up 10-0 real quick? What was the mental? And then you guys went into the halftime up. I don't think they scored by halftime, or did they? Maybe
I don't think. I think it was still 14.
So it was the complete opposite of when you guys were down 28-0 in halftime the year before, and now you're up 14-0 in halftime. What was the whole mentality there?
Well, again, it's having played for a Hall of Fame coach, it's about maintaining. It's about maintaining your focus, not letting up. Continuing to hit,
keep the foot on the neck, if you will.
Continuing to keep the foot on the gas. Yeah. And you can't relax. You can't relax against a team that good,
right? Because
especially on their home field, we knew we couldn't relax, and we had to stay after it. But yeah,
I got to tell you, I really enjoyed rewatching. I did watch the game when I watched it when you played in it. And I hadn't watched the entire game since until you agreed to come on the show. So I made something for you. I watched the game.
No.
I want you to go ahead and pull that up right now. and you go ahead and take the headphones off if you want. So go ahead and let it play all the way through, and then I'll put it up here so people can watch it.
It is a big offensive line led by Drew Gerber, a first-team AP All-American. And as Dan Jiggets mentioned, 2 1,000-yard rushers in the backfield. Don Whistler is the leading receiver. 13-0 Youngstown State in the Division I AA National Championship game. Run yard, wide open, the tight end, John Quintana. He has a first down in Marshall territory at the 37-yard line. Quintana, an outstanding student, and that isn't giving him enough credit. 3.93 is his grade point average in marketing. He is the only person ever from Youngstown State to be nominated for a Rhodes Scholarship. We talk about Quintana's grade point average, Dan, 3.93. He told the coaches he wanted to get at least 1B because he didn't want to graduate with a 4.0 grade point average and have potential employers think that he was a little bit abnormal.
He was a nerd.
That's right.
Not a bad way.
Threw in 1B to make it 3.93 as he heads to graduation.